Emissions Trading Scheme, the impact on business in Australia, Part 4. So earlier on we've been looking at what's been covered by the legislation. We've gone through a little bit of the Emissions Trading Scheme and the Climate Change Authority. So we'll look at a few scenarios on what's going to happen a little bit in the future. Okay, so we'll just do a little bit of a review at the moment. So Climate Change Authority, they're being put together to recommend a national carbon budget and a emissions trajectory on the management of emissions in Australia. They'll review that against the United Nations guidelines, or reporting back to the United Nations on what we've done as being a responsible nation. The legislation changes under that have been proposed for the emissions trading scheme that are in place now. We've gone through a little bit of the carbon footprint, and we've explained the three scopes. So we're talking about direct activity with all the company vehicles, your power and electricity. So this is where these two get affected underneath the carbon tax. The emissions trading scheme. But from being a responsible business, the global 500 companies are including the upstream and downstream activities in their supply chain. Okay, so let's do the 5-point explanation, I suppose. So if we're going to move from the carbon tax scheme to an ETS, so really we're only going from a brown Commodore to a red Commodore. That's the easiest way of explaining it. So currently the limit's set at 25,000 kilotons. This impacts 330 companies that are currently paying $23 a tonne. So under the NGES legislation, there's 862 companies in the paddock. So then out of that 862 companies, that's where the 330 have been affected now. So that's where you can see that link. So what Australia did, we've linked our ETS to the environment to the European emissions trading scheme, and let's say at $10 per tonne. Now at the moment the carbon credits in Europe and that are increasing, so it will be interesting to see how that goes in the next 2 years. Now when we're talking about the Climate Commission, they're going to do a review in February to see what they need to do to reduce their limits. So let's run a scenario. So what if the Commission recommended a reduction to 12,000 kilotons? So don't forget we've got it at 25,000 now. So if they reckon to drop that to 12,000 kilotons, say the government says we're not making any money at the moment from this emissions trading scheme, or we haven't been reducing our emissions, the only way for them to reduce emissions from there is to capture more people in the paddock. So by reducing that from 25,000 to 12,000, instead of capturing the 330 companies, that's going to include the 862 companies plus another 1,000 companies underneath that. So this is the thing that we've got to watch, because this will have a higher impact on the local community and the business economy. So businesses that are prepared now will have a competitive advantage over other businesses in the field. So if we look at a responsible business, what's a responsible business? By being a responsible business, this is where the United Nations principles come into place to work out being responsible in the supply chain. So there's a standard called ISO 26000 which is used for this, and this is broken into four key areas: human rights, labour, environment and anti-corruption. So by following these principles from here, you can give you really good guidelines in managing your business. So we've got the 10 principles from here, so you can see that we've got breaking down of human rights, labour, environmental and anti-corruption. So we look at the Bangladesh